A shoe is just a shoe. Until somebody steps into it. Then it has meaning. The rest of us just want a chance to touch that greatness. And we need you in these shoes, not so you have meaning in your life, but so that we have meaning in ours. You're Michael Jordan. And your story is gonna make us want to fly.
Air does one really remarkable thing. It makes us feel nostalgia for a time that many of us never experienced. It takes us back to the 1980s, where it seems there was real optimism and lightness in the USA. And Ben Affleck's trick is to not just show this lightness, but make us feel it and give us the sensation that we're flying like Michael as we watch it. Air is one of the best films of 2023, and I wanted to break down a couple hidden messages and details that you might have missed the first time you watched it. So let's get to it, baby. Aerial shots. Ben Affleck uses a lot of aerial shots in this movie, and look, aerial shots aren't anything special in filmmaking these days, but I think he did this for a reason. When we're shown the market share for Converse, Adidas, and Nike, we get aerial shots of Converse's and Adidas's HQ, but a grounded one for Nike's. That 17% is supposed to hit hard. It's like a visual wah, wah, wah. Showing the buildings of Converse and Adidas from the air makes them look more monstrous and intimidating. And showing Nike's HQ from the ground, well, just makes them look puny and weak. Beyond that, though, is the idea that Converse and Adidas were flying at this point in time. They were dominating the basketball market while Nike was struggling to sign anybody. I think an A-plus filmmaker like Ben Affleck would have put these aerial shots in here for a specific reason. And it makes sense for a film about flight and following your dreams and a guy who literally defied the rules of gravity. It makes sense that you would put aerial shots in your movie to highlight that little message. And as Sonny's plan materializes more and more, we see Nike's HQ from the air more and more too. Sunflowers. When Sonny negotiates the Nike deal with Dolores Jordan at the end of the film, her curtains and window dressings have sunflowers on them. This doesn't mean much until we realize that in their first meeting, Sonny tells her a very specific story about how he got his name.
Well, my mother had trouble bearing children. So when it finally happened, she said that when she was staring up at the bright hot light in the hospital, all she could think about was the sun.
So he's named after the sun. What do sunflowers do? They follow the sun as it moves across the sky. I thought this was a nice visual metaphor to show that the Jordans did in fact follow Sonny, the sun, like sunflowers, after they signed with Nike. King size. Before Sonny discovers how awesome Michael Jordan is at home, he goes to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee and some Wheaties. He walks down the aisle where we see a few brands that were popular at the time, like a Mr. T cereal, Mr. Stash, Twinkies, and Wax Lips. Before he approaches the counter, we're shown 3 products in quick succession: World's king-size candy, larger size Twinkie cakes, and Big Wonder Bread. King-size candy, larger-size Twinkies, Big Wonder Bread. Are you seeing the pattern here? Sure, bigger is better in the United States. I mean, we have a whole state that's dedicated to that idea. But why would the filmmaker show in rapid succession a bunch of jumbo-sized products? I think they were meant to send Sonny a message, like, think bigger. Find a big idea and really go for it. They're calling him to rise to the challenge. Let's talk about brands for a second. Brands. Brands are so important in Air, and it makes sense because this movie is about the birth of one of the biggest brands this world has ever seen. But sometimes I hate brands. They can be tacky and fake and ridiculous. I mean, Wonder Bread says they build bodies in 8 different ways. Yeah, I'm calling BS on that. Converse and Adidas are presented as mega professional, mega successful businesses. They wear suits, convene in monolithic buildings, and have huge meeting rooms. But the Nike workers seem normal. Sonny never wears a suit once. Phil wears ridiculous track gear half the time. And Nike's meeting room is dwarfed by Converse's and Adidas's. Nike's HQ is also out in the middle of nowhere. How did they win? How did they beat Converse and Adidas, these huge companies? They were honest with MJ. They told him the truth about how America would build him up into this icon, only to tear him down again. Brutal honesty has no place in business, which makes Sonny's speech a breath of fresh air at the end of this movie. A breath of fresh air. Get it? Cars. Did you notice the blue car on Sonny's computer? That's a Shelby Cobra, which is a funny nod to Matt Damon's portrayal of Carroll Shelby in 2019's Ford vs. Ferrari. There's actually many mentions of cars in this movie, whether it's Michael Jordan's red Mercedes 380 SL, Phil Knight's Porsche, or the Mercury with the telephone in it that Sonny drives to the Jordan's house. Remember what MJ's dad is working on as Sonny walks up their driveway? That's right, he's working on a car, and there's a couple other cars sitting in the driveway too. When Rob, Phil, Sonny, Peter, and Howard bunk up at Nike to work all weekend on the Jordan pitch, Ben Affleck puts a shot of all three cars parked next to one another in the parking lot. Cars seem to be important in this movie. Let's take a closer look to figure out why. Sonny drives two cars in this movie. The rental car with the telephone in it is a Mercury, an American brand. Sonny's car in Oregon is a Lincoln Continental, another American brand. Porsche and Mercedes, Phil Knight and Michael Jordan's preferred cars, are German-made, kind of like Adidas. This could represent the general sentiment that foreign-made stuff is better, higher quality, more preferable. This movie is very much an American success story though, and the fact that Sonny drives only American-made cars subtly communicates that, I believe. The choice of cars also connects back to this movie's obsession with brands, and it makes Sonny seem hardworking and scrappy instead of uber professional and stylish like Converse and Adidas. It's hilarious to me that Sonny doesn't seem to care about style all that much, and it connects back to the Nike principle of it won't be pretty. The whole reason MJ and Air Jordan was so popular wasn't because of the style of the shoe. It's because Michael performed on the court with hard work, grit, toughness, and competitive fire. It was those intangibles, those non-style related traits that made Air Jordan such a great brand to want to buy into. Like Sonny said, a shoe is just a shoe until somebody steps into it. If MJ wasn't great, we wouldn't have cared about his shoe, no matter how stylish it was. Sonny drives dinky American-made cars, far from the Porsches and Mercedes-Benzes of the world. But he got the job done. He got MJ. Cars, I think, are just a metaphor in this movie for the fact that the most important traits are the non-pretty ones. Hard work, grit, toughness, the stuff that made MJ a legend. The Adidas Sculpture. There's a sculpture of a perfect body holding a ball in Adidas's HQ. It's only shown for a moment, but I think it has big significance. I think this connects back to Sonny's comments that America will build Michael Jordan into something that doesn't exist, like an icon or a legend, like the logo on every pair of Jordan shoes. But I can't help but laugh at this ridiculous representation of athleticism in Adidas's office. One major point of this movie is that it's how you respond to failures that defines you as much as your successes. Again, it's not perfect. Even in Converse's offices, there's towering posters of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. But it's not perfection that builds athletes into legends. It's sweat, blood, tears, hard work, grit. That's the stuff that makes legends. And I think this statue at Adidas, this bronze sculpture representing a perfect athletic body, shows the disconnect they had with this simple idea. Overtime. Here's a couple quick Easter eggs that I think you might find interesting. Bridges. There's a ton of bridges shown in this movie, like an alarming amount. Sonny is shown driving over a couple of them, and I can't help but think that it's just used as a metaphor to represent the fact that Sonny was the bridge between Nike and the Jordans. Nothing too crazy. There is no self. In one scene, Phil Knight tells Sonny that there is no self, to which Sonny quips back, says the guy who drives a grape-colored Porsche. I thought this was interesting, since the whole idea of Air Jordan was to market MJ's self, his personality, his identity, to the public so that they could buy into that and be like him. Hi everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you want, sign up for my Substack newsletter. It's free. There's written versions of all of my videos there, so if you like the written version better, go ahead and sign up. If you like this video, please drop a like for me. Leave a comment down below what you thought of Air. If you saw any other messages, hidden details that I didn't see, I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you want more film breakdowns in the future, consider subscribing to my channel. I have like 18 or 19 other videos that I've made breaking down other popular films that you might like, so check out my channel. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.